Hey everyone, how are you guys doing today? I am going to share, I'm like looking all over my screen. What am I doing here? I'm wanting to pull up my screen here to share with you, not the Zoom screen, this screen. This is my website. So I'm going to go into a blog post that I recently completed on hormonal changes that are affecting our sleep. And this is based on this information comes to you from the book that I'm currently completing, titled "The Alchemy of Sleep." And the purpose of this is I've been writing an awful lot and talking a lot about energy levels, fatigue, chronic fatigue. We've talked about the various different types of hormones and the systems involved. But in this case, I felt it was probably a good idea to kind of get into this a little bit further. If you haven't seen this blog post, that's one of the reasons I wanted to come in here, because I wanted to kind of parallel for you the changes that are occurring in the system. And then this comes about because I've been helping a number of people along this line. There's more people than I care to count that I'm involved with that struggle. Not just with their sleep, but they struggle to stay awake during the day. This, in fact, I feel like has a lot to do with melatonin. This I cover in the book. Melatonin is a hormone, so it's a complete hormonal disruption. Energy levels are hormonal disruption. And when we substitute stimulants artificially, and even though caffeine is a naturally occurring constituent, it's oftentimes added to foods, an unbelievable type of food. I mean, I was reading the other day on I think it was the FDA or the CDC. I've cited it, not on this one. I'll have to get the link and put it in the description box. But I'm talking about like waffles and syrup, and I mean just things you wouldn't even imagine are having caffeine added to it. And the troubling part is that caffeine is considered a dietary supplement, so therefore it's not considered dangerous. Yet the DSM-5 lists it as the most addictive substance on the planet, and it's being added to foods. And this is to continue to bolster our energy. And then if we're not drinking or consuming caffeine, then we're doing things like trying to eat more sugars or sweets or carbohydrates, because we think that that's going to be the next jolt of energy. And while I do understand the placebo effect, I do believe it's real. I don't believe we're getting the stimulating effect of the sugar. I don't think the sugar is doing much for you in the way of energy. I believe that this isn't, I don't mean any disrespect when I say this. The placebo effect is real. They've been able to do studies where they've given somebody a pill and told them it was going to do this for them. And then they had, the other group of people who actually got the real pill, and the people who got the placebo sugar pill actually saw more results than the ones who actually took the real pill. So the placebo effect is real. So it's a mind, and the only point to that is it's a state of mind. It's a mindset. That's one thing I continue to emphasize in everything that I'm writing and talking about. It's a mindset. So if we set our mind on that something's going to work for us, we're going to get results. I find it interesting, the people that when I work with, and there's less than a hand, I can count on less than 5 fingers, people that I've worked with that were just so confrontational and adversarial when it came to the work that I was helping them with, in meaning introducing and making suggestions, and they kept, it's not going to work, it's not working, it's not working, it's not working. And a good example is a guy that I know struggling with testosterone levels. He's had a host of health issues. But he goes around and he takes a sampling of men his age and older, and the same story is, well, when you get older, your testosterone levels just naturally drop. It's a natural drop because the body's consistently distressed, okay? And testosterone is an energy hormone. So when we substitute caffeine and sugar, it's an artificial form of stimulation. Not that there's anything wrong with it if you need to do it occasionally, but excessive use of this, again, DSM-5 classifies it as the #1 addictive substance, and if you admit to consuming caffeine on a regular basis, you'll be diagnosed with a substance abuse disorder. just hands down. That's the reason why it's, so I find it funny. The FDA says it's safe, but we're also labeling people as substance abuse challenges. But nevertheless, the reason why we're finding ourselves caught up in this, on this hamster wheel of needing artificial stimulation is because the body is not producing the necessary hormones for energy. Okay, so in this gentleman's case, like I said, I mean, testosterone levels, he's done the blood work and they're down. The sad truth is the clinician who is taking the blood work and trying to encourage him to use different types of creams and whatnot to replace the hormone is not addressing the root of the issue. The root of the issue is stress. Just hands down stress. It fucks up the hormonal system and it disrupts her sleep. And it creates energy. The body begins to hold on to energy. It's not releasing the energy because it's in protection mode. Okay, so it's in survival mode. And then of course, depending on the epigenome of the individual, how this plays out is it's determined by the individual's genetic wiring. So, and part of this came to mind when I was asked, when I do produce blends for people, support energy levels, the first question that comes, is this like a stimulant? Is this like caffeine? No, it's not. Okay, it's not, because I'm sharing this on Instagram. There's a very specific mechanism that breaks down the CYP450 enzymes, break it down and produce different metabolites, and it therefore, and of course it also, because it's a substance that we can easily get addicted to, it is affecting the dopamine receptors in the brain. So it's heading to the dopaminergic mesolimbic pathway, and so it gets you amped up that way. It does stimulate the production of epinephrine. It does stimulate the adrenals. So on that level, it is in fact, like I said, it's an artificial stimulant, and it addresses a very specific, it takes very specific actions in the body. Well, when you use an essential oil, it's non-specific in its action. Yeah, the different constituents have various genetic influences, but it's a culmination, a synergistic value that promotes the release of energy. And it does that by supporting hormonal balance, by improving hormonal function and de-escalating these types of hormones that you see here on the screen. Okay, so to give you an example here, okay, let's go through this first. So as you can see, corticotropin releasing factor stimulates the production of adrenocorticotropin hormone, ACTH, and the 8 lipotropin and 3 endorphin. Plasma levels of these hormones can increase to nearly 5 times during stress. Okay, these are inflammatory. 5 times during stress. Catecholamine production increases, which includes dopamine, epinephrine, norepinephrine. These are hormones released during emotional and physical stress, which leads to increased cardio output, skeletal muscle blood flow, sodium retention, reduced intestinal motility, constriction of blood vessels under the skin, increased glucose, bronchial dilation, and behavioral activation. Okay, so this isn't a bad thing. Okay, this is a survival thing. Okay. But this is what chronic stress is doing. So this, again, just for those of you who are new to me, when I talk about stress, I've been researching it since the development of my Breaking the Cycle of Disease Management program. That was actually the catalyst for aromagenomics and my investigation into what the hell stress was. And then, of course, with my diagnosis of cancer and full body arthritis, I wanted to know what was going on, because I'd been following the instructions of conventional model. And the conventional model wasn't working for me. Clearly, it wasn't working for me. In fact, somebody said to me yesterday, well, if you started your period before the age of 11, chances are you developed breast cancer. Well, I wasn't. I was almost 15 years of age. So I'm not that statistic. We need to stop grabbing for straws and trying to figure it out. We're pigeonholing specifics when, in fact, the bottom line is mental, emotional, and environmental distress. And whether, I heard Marie Forleo say this, and I completely agree with it. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. I've been telling us to check in with ourselves. We need to get ourselves right. We need to shift our mindset if in fact the goal is to feel better. You know, we need to determine what the goal is. And this is the reason for the sleep book, because sleep is paramount to helping to stabilize this. Okay, it's paramount. And again, sleep is hormonally regulated, but keep in mind, I want to make the distinction between sleep and rest. Okay, you might lay down and you might doze off. Okay, your eyes close, your brain checks out, and you're in la la land, possibly dreaming, maybe not. Maybe you remember, maybe you don't. But that doesn't mean your body is resting. Good examples of this are sleep apnea. Sleep apnea is a huge problem with the body not relaxing, and there's too much calcium that's been activated, and that's involved with this stress mechanism. Okay, because cortisol interferes with, or I should say, cortisol, high levels of cortisol will alter the vitamin D receptor. Therefore, calcium is not being transported properly into the body for further use. It's being used by the immune system and it's activating it. Okay, and if you actually look into some studies they're looking into sleep apnea, one of the things that they're trying to do is prescribe calcium channel blockers to help relax the lungs and help relax, and so people can actually breathe and help just relax that breathing, because it's like everything's up here. But if, truthfully, a natural calcium channel blocker is magnesium. And there's other ways to do this with oils. Again, I stopped making recommendations on oils, so if you're here for oil suggestions, you may get them occasionally, but I don't want to do them here. I have started, and that link is in the box below, Circe's Circle over on Coffee, where we'll talk about more about oils over there for subscribers. And so, I mean, that's certainly a possibility. And then I do have the aromagenomics program. But beyond that, I just want to say it really depends on what you've got going on in your full system. So like I said, so sleep and rest are two very different things. Just because your body is sleeping does not mean it's resting. Restless leg is another good example of that. Like I said, sleep apnea, a good example of that. Parasomnias, where you talk in your sleep, or you grind your teeth, or you sleepwalk, or you have night terrors. Okay, that's not rest, guys. Okay, that is not restful. So we're talking about being able to get into that relaxed state. I have myself suffered from parasomnias since very young child. I was probably under the age of 5 when they started. I was a sleepwalker, and I used to have horrible night terrors. And then to top it all off, that shifted into as an adult, where I occasionally will just start screaming out in the middle of the night. I have no idea why, what's going. I don't even know what was going on, but I start shouting to where people will come in from another room and try to soothe me. Fortunately, they don't shake me. And if you are somebody that knows somebody that has those kinds of night terrors, please don't shake them. Please don't shake them. Just start talking to them, and they will snap out of it, but please don't shake them. Anyway, I sidetracked myself. So the point is that none of this is rest. Okay, all of these are signs that the body is distressed. So again, if we check ourselves and we get ourselves right, and we can keep our emotions and our mind in check, okay? Because as a species, we're the only one on the planet that can regulate our breath, thoughts, and actions. So check your mind, check your emotions, get them, to where they serve you. And that's a whole nother video about how we can utilize these emotions. It's not about obscure positivity, it's about being real. If you have emotions, just don't take any actions in the middle of the emotion, is how I want to say that. Okay, if you're angry, if you're pissed off about something, if you're sad, feel it, be with it. Don't do anything to try to don't take action on it, because whatever may have triggered it, let that be. It'll still be there, but get through the emotion first and then create the action that would best serve the highest potential. So I will say that. So once you get beyond all that, now that I've gotten off my soapbox there, environmental distress is huge. And this is what's ongoing, and this is what's really hurting everybody. And so as you can see on this screen here, you got corticotropin release, the catecholamines, that's another one, vasopressin, involved in the activation of the ACTH, and it slows down the fluid release, or the down fluid release. We can see here that, the catecholamines, or dopamine, is also part of fluid release or retention. So there's a decrease in gonadotropins, also known as your reproductive hormones. This would be your testosterone, okay? Stress inhibits the thyroid stimulating hormone and lowers both T3 and T4. Insulin levels tend to go down as such antagonistic hormones increase, like glucagon, which promotes the release of glucose into the bloodstream, and with lower insulin levels, blood sugar issues become a problem. So the point to this, please go check out the link is in the description box. But these are the hormones that, this is the activity that occurs during stress. Now, that said, I'm going to just turn my head here for a minute. So hormones that are used to give body energy would be epinephrine. And we already know what we know what adrenaline does, right? The thyroid stimulating hormone. As you can see here, number 5, stress inhibits the thyroid stimulating hormone. Well, when it's not distressed, when the system's not distressed, we produce the TSH, which is used to convert glucose and fat into energy. We have cortisol, but we want to keep our cortisol in check, so therefore keeping, our mind, taking things like ashwagandha and helps to, it helps support cortisol levels. That's how I want to say it. I would also include zinc in your diet. Because see what the body naturally does to regulate cortisol levels is it begins to produce aromatase. Aromatase is what converts. It is produced during times of stress. So again, when cortisol levels are jacked, which caffeine will do, you begin to produce aromatase. And aromatase will knock your testosterone down, of all things, a lot of your reproductive hormones. So it converts androgens into estrogen. So men are walking around with higher levels of estrogen and lower amounts of testosterone. That's why it's not age related. It's because you've been stressed most of your damn life, and you have been kicking out estrogen more and more and more because you're not getting your stress levels in check. And the thing is that we have a culture that puts a lot of pressure on everybody to have these certain roles and to be a certain way, and living an entire life according to somebody else's rules and beliefs is really fucking us up. Just the way it is. It's hurting us. It's bringing damage to the body. And what we're doing is we're seeing excessive levels of these types of hormones coming out, and we're not getting, our cortisol levels. Like I said, ashwagandha, zinc, because zinc is a natural aromatase inhibitor. Mangosteen is another aromatase. Nettle leaf tea, that would help scavenge and help the body metabolize estrogen. And again, depending on the epigenetic wiring, you now have, is the body actually metabolizing estrogen? It's not just producing high levels of it, but is it actually metabolizing it? And there again, this is another reason for oils, because the oils help to regulate CYP activity, and learning how to pair those with medications is essential, or health issues, because health issues indicate what genetics are either overactive or underactive, is how I want to say that. So another hormone that is involved. Like I said, testosterone is there for energy, and aldosterone is also produced for energy. And aldosterone um, is also has a small effect on the metabolism of carbs, fats, and proteins. So as you can see, the release of energy really is based on everything that I've been saying so far, not just in this video, but in other videos and in my blog posts. It comes down to the way the body is actually breaking down the foods. And it's not breaking down the foods. I do have a document, the physiological effects of stress, that demonstrates that one of the very first systems to shut down is the digestive system, and that's because acetylcholine is being used to activate the autonomic nervous system and keep everything on high alert. But acetylcholine is, believe it or not, it is used in respiration. This is the reason why I say oils are very good for this, because there's very specific constituents that help improve full body use, systemic use of acetylcholine. Acetylcholine is also used to produce hydrochloric acid in the stomach, and in the pancreas and the stomach, so that we can break down our carbohydrates and fats and proteins. And the hydrochloric acid is essential for helping to sterilize our food and regulating gut flora. So another reason why, getting our sleep in check is paramount. Another system that is bogged down, however you want to call it, is the lymph system. And that's another reason why physical activity is very good in the stress relief mode. Or why I'm not doing very well with my words today. I apologize. So that's what I wanted to say about that. It's getting our stress levels under control is completely in our power. We're completely capable of that. And yes, there are things happening in the environment, but we are not victims of the environment. There's so much that we can do, and that's a lot of the work that I've been doing, is to unravel the mysteries of nature so that we can begin to introduce oils at the level that help shield us. That's the reason why I wrote a blog post on putting it, what did I call that? I have to go back out of here in a minute just so I can show it to you guys. Neutralizing, masking genetic receptors with essential oils. Okay, the reason why I wrote that one is because the more we can utilize them on a daily basis, this is the purpose to aromagenomics. So if you'll entertain me for just a moment and allow me just to say that you have 3 options to join that group. It is a paid membership, but you can pay it in full. You can pay it in full. You have your option of $400 down in 3 monthly installments, $300 down in 6 monthly installments, or $200 down in 11 monthly installments. And as long as you remain current on your payments, if you choose a payment plan, you will have lifetime access. That's my guarantee, because there's so much information coming out, and I really want to teach people and help people and guide people more specifically on how to use these on a daily basis so that they get the best defense against this environment. Nobody has to be victimized by this environment. We have so many chemicals out there, and it's a mishmash, which reminds me, the next thing I wanted to briefly talk about is menthol. Earlier this year, I started a menthol challenge. I said, I challenge you to give up menthol for the season. We're coming into the cold and flu season. The coronavirus is on the rise. I'm telling you, stop doing menthol. I'm going to show you something here, because you see that? Plant-based menthol cigarettes. Winston, plant-based menthol cigarettes. I put it on Instagram as well. That's scary. There was another one, right, the same on that same post. Oh well, I had, there was I walked into a store and there was a side display of everything was menthol in there, menthol cough drops, you know, with eucalyptus added to it, but it was said menthol. And like I said, this tends to be the menthol season. People love peppermint. There's a number of mints that have menthol in them. But the fact that we have cigarettes with menthol in them is frightening, because menthol increases lung tissue permeability, and it actually slows down the breakdown of nicotine, and so it maintains nicotine levels in the system, but it increases lung tissue permeability. And so what's frightening to me is the amount of menthol that we are inhaling and ingesting. It's not good for people who have GERD. There's a number of health conditions that you should not mix menthol with, and we don't know this. And I've talked extensively about this in other videos about adverse reactions. The thing is that we're so accustomed to plant-based statements and natural products, right, that we just automatically think they're safe. I mean, heck, we've got the FDA that is, you know, saying that caffeine's safe because it's natural. They say melatonin is safe. You know, that's considered a dietary supplement, when in fact, I guess there was somebody, a university up in Canada that had studied a number of melatonin products to come to find out that serotonin had been added to it. So our country, the United States, is the only country in the world that sells melatonin as over the counter. I mean, it's a hormone, you guys. It's unbelievable. Anyway, the point is I'm on menthol. Just because it's natural and plant-based does not make it safe. Okay, I do understand why we think that, but it doesn't make it safe, especially when we're mixing it with, when we have health conditions, it's already a sign that the body is distressed. And then if we're taking medications and we're not aware of what we're doing, the side effects or the interactions may not even be recognized. They just we might just overlook them because we're so used to feeling a certain way or having certain things come up and go, you know. So it doesn't necessarily have to be anything instantaneous and hugely dramatic. So the point, though, is I'm challenging people to stop with the menthol. Keep in mind, coronavirus enters the body through the ACE2 receptor, which is predominantly found in the lungs, but it is also in the hypothalamus. Okay, again, using oils to mask these, you know, meaning to help protect your genetic receptors, is really a good idea. And not using menthol, because otherwise you've just opened your lungs up. Yes, the immediate short-term effect is open lungs. Like, whoo, I can breathe, right? I can breathe. Yeah, you can breathe. You're taking a whole lot more in than you really should be. Just saying, especially with the environment that we have. So knock it off with the menthol. And if you want to check out that post, like I said, that's on Instagram too. But I'm going to leave it at that for now. Appreciate you guys for checking this out. Let me know if you have any questions about anything. And thanks for being here. I will talk with you soon. And yeah, you guys take care. Be blessed.